Hello, my name is Gary Hoover with TBM Consulting Group. Welcome to our podcast where we will discuss the topic of reshoring along with recent trends and observations on both successes and lessons learned with our guest, Harry Moser. We appreciate you all joining us. Harry is the founder of the Reshoring Initiative and has more than 5 decades of experience in manufacturing. Harry's passion to support U.S. manufacturing led him to create the initiative well before the word reshoring became part of our nation's regular vernacular. Harry has been a powerful voice in many media outlets on this topic. In addition, Harry was an advisor to President Obama's 2012 insourcing forum at the White House. Earlier this year, we at TBM invited Harry to speak to us about the decision-making process to both reshore and nearshore. On today's podcast, Harry and I will extend our discussion to discuss and learn more around some of the recent successes and challenges of U.S. companies bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. So, welcome, Harry. Glad to have you with us.
Great to be here, Gary. It's a pleasure to be back.
Maybe if we could dive in here, we know that there are some driving forces as to why companies were offshoring in the first place, cost being a primary one of them, but the trends have moved and changed. What are we seeing beyond the obvious today that's really driving companies to begin to turn this back the other way?
Okay, well, as you implied, the reason most of them offshored was price. You could buy product for 30, 40, 50% less from places like China. And that's a major driving force for companies. And so why are they coming back? First, companies started to understand what we call total cost of ownership, which would be that price, but also the duty and the freight and the carrying cost of inventory, the risk of stocking out, the intellectual property risk. And we have 29 different factors that are quantified in the total cost of ownership estimator. A simple way to understand this, I think, is an interesting study that Professor John Gray from The Ohio State University did. He found 4 small to medium-sized companies that had offshored and then reshored, and he went out and studied them. And he said, "Why did you offshore? The price was so much lower, the wages were so much lower, we had to do it." Then he said, "Why'd you reshore?" Well, over 2, 3, 4 years, we had so many issues, so many problems, so many costs that we hadn't planned on that finally it didn't make any sense, and so we brought it all back. And that's the experience that companies went through. More recently, geopolitics has become very important. So there was a survey that Chief Executive Magazine recently put out and asked companies to rank the reasons why they were reshoring. And in order of priority, first was geopolitical risk, something like Russia or Taiwan. Supply chain resilience, having the factory closer to management and oversight. We have a methodology for calculating the geopolitical risk. We've got a map that shows what we believe the probability of decoupling in each country is, and companies are starting to use information like that to make their decisions.
Interesting. Very interesting. Along those lines, are there certain trends or themes that you're seeing that we can attribute to successful efforts in this arena? Things that are providing the benefits for those to reshore that are positive?
A prominent case was Bath and Body Works, and they reshored from China to near Columbus, Ohio. And the reason, their motivating factor was a quick market response. For example, being able to resupply or bring out new products in weeks instead of many months. And the way they went about it, they're a good-sized outfit, and they were able to attract 9 suppliers to build supply chain factories on their campus with buildings literally feet apart. In total, 5,000 workers, so quite a big operation, but conceptually similar to what Toyota does. When Toyota brings a new assembly plant into the U.S., they'll get their suppliers from Japan, from the U.S., whatever, to locate right near them so they can have just-in-time delivery. Makes things happen much faster. They automate it, and their assembly of the product that they're selling is being done with 5 workers in the U.S. as opposed to 50 in China. So getting your suppliers close, keeping them close, automation, 2 very important factors. Another case that I've worked on directly is a small company in Connecticut called Nedco, New England Die Company, and they got a CNC machine, happened to be a Studer from United Grinding. And by using that CNC machine, they were able to cut their labor costs per product by a factor of 6 or 7, and therefore able to bring back work that had just been lost to China. And so they dealt with two things. First, they can't find enough skilled workers, and they had to get their costs down, and they achieved that with this automation.
Interesting. So you've got the first example where the supply base was very critical to the success overall, and the second around the labor productivity piece, which I'm sure covered for both. Harry, thank you so much for your time. I want to thank you for your expertise and your continued work around this topic, as we know you were here before it was, let's say, cool to be reshoring. And so we look forward to having further discussions with you going forward and tracking this. We'll also be tracking our overall productivity within manufacturing and several subsectors, which will be a sister component to what we're discussing today. And also, I just want to thank everyone out there for listening. And so until we talk again, have a great rest of the week. Thank you, Harry.
Bye, Gary. Have a great weekend.
You too, sir.